In a league obsessed with celebrity, flash, and coastal franchises, two teams are reminding us that winning doesn't need a spotlight, just a strategy. The Minnesota Timberwolves and Indiana Pacers, two franchises long considered NBA afterthoughts, didn't just make deep playoff runs in 2025. They've become templates for small market survival, and perhaps even dominance. The media calls it a Cinderella run, but is it really? To call this a Cinderella story is to miss the point. These aren't accidents, these are blueprints. The truth is, it's not luck, it's not magic, it's two very different templates, shaped by money, market size, and the brutal economics of NBA team building. And if you care about basketball outside of LA or Boston, you should probably be paying attention.
The Lakers, between Austin Reeves playing the best basketball of his career, Luke is in better shape, LeBron's rested, ready to go. They're going to get more easy looks, easier transition to offense, and I think the Lakers are going to win that series in 6.
The real twist? They got here by doing the exact opposite of one another. Let's talk market size. Indiana and Minnesota aren't bottom of the barrel, but they're a world away from the Lakers or the Knicks. Small market means less national attention, smaller TV deals, and fewer A-list free agents. It means that your margin for error is razor thin. No matter the level of a small market team's on-court success, they still can't bring in the revenue that a large market like New York or Los Angeles can. This means that small markets have to build their teams smarter. Superstars aren't choosing to come to Indianapolis. Indiana made the Eastern Conference Finals in 2024 and still didn't get national attention in 2025. Despite being one of the best teams in the entire NBA statistically since January, most fans couldn't even name their starting 5. This year's abysmal Phoenix Suns team received more than double the amount of the Pacers' nationally televised games. The Timberwolves also made their respective conference finals in 2024 and still received minimal national media attention. It took Anthony Edwards blossoming into a superstar, Gobert and McDaniels anchoring a top 6 defensive team, and being in playoff contention throughout the year, just to make it to the 10th most nationally televised games this season. Even after beating larger market teams in the playoffs, the majority of national discourse focused on what the big market team did wrong instead of what the small market team did right. But here's the paradox. While everyone else was watching Boston and LA, the Wolves and Pacers were quietly building two of the most interesting teams in the league. The Pacers' approach was methodical. No tanking, no fire sale, just smart trades and confident drafting. They didn't bottom out, they recalibrated. After moving on from the Victor Oladipo, Domantas Sabonis era, they pivoted, trading smart, drafting sharp, and doubling down on player development. General manager Chad Buchanan and the Pacers front office capitalized on big market afterthoughts like Aaron Nesmith, traded from Boston for Malcolm Brogdon, in a headline that characterized Boston's haul as, quote, a future first-round pick and a handful of players, end quote. Nesmith and the 2025 Pacers have shown that they are anything but an afterthought. Tyrese Haliburton didn't just steady the ship, he became a star, the perfect face of their identity. Unselfish, methodical, efficient, rarely making a mistake. He led the league in assists last season, and since January 2025, the Pacers have ranked 6th in net rating in the entire league. That's not a fluke, that's infrastructure. It's not just that they're winning, it's how. The Pacers are playing beautiful, connected basketball. They didn't blow it up, they built around the edges, never fully tanking, treading water while they restructure. And that might be the most underappreciated kind of genius in the NBA today. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, the plan was pain. The Timberwolves leaned into a full teardown. Post Jimmy Butler, they were rudderless, cycling through coaches, bottoming out, and collecting draft picks. They lost, intentionally, and then bet the house on a young core and controversial trades. The Gobert deal, an immense haul of 5 players and 4 first-round picks, was ridiculed. Now, it's the pillar of one of the best defenses in basketball. But this isn't just Ant and Gobert. Jaden McDaniels is a defensive savant. Naz Reid might be the best backup big in the entire league. Mike Conley brings veteran experience to a young core. Julius Randle, historically heralded as a playoff choker, took over to put away the Lakers and the Warriors. And Chris Finch? He's evolved too, giving Ant the reins while anchoring the team's identity around grit and balance. The Wolves gambled that if they could stack enough talent quickly, they'd leapfrog the middle-tier treadmill that traps so many franchises. It worked, but not without growing pains. This franchise is no longer the subject of league ridicule. They're mature, they're scary, and they're not done. What's fascinating isn't just that both teams are winning, it's how differently they got here. Indiana bet on stability, cohesion, and cap flexibility. Minnesota bet on upside, aggression, and star power. Both front offices built a contender, but the economics of each team look completely different. This year, the Pacers ranked 17th in team payroll, while the Timberwolves ranked 3rd, spending big to rival even the largest markets in spending. Inversely, the Pacers ranked 10th in available salary cap space, while the Timberwolves ranked dead last, right alongside the Phoenix Suns. The Pacers' rebuild can be categorized into 3 pillars: no tanking, smart drafting, and efficient payroll. They retooled after LeBron dismantled the Oladipo-Sabonis era, hovering in the purgatory of the Eastern Conference while developing their sneakily underrated core. They obtained NBA champion Pascal Siakam from the Raptors for a relatively low price in light of the Mikal Bridges and Gobert trades. Indiana bet on their culture and player development, wagering that they could turn a group of outcasts into a contender. They could have restructured after last year's conference finals loss, but they bet on their core. And this year, it's cashing. The Timberwolves' strategy looked different. Post Jimmy Butler, they tanked and got rewarded in the draft with their superstar, Anthony Edwards. They followed up with high-risk trades for players like Gobert and Randle. Minnesota invested into the top of their roster heavily, with a payroll that rivals big markets like Los Angeles, New York, and Boston. In many ways, each franchise's superstar reflects their respective rebuild. Haliburton, a pass-first point guard who rarely makes errors, with an atypical shooting form who was overlooked in the draft for his, quote, low ceiling. He fits perfectly into the Pacers culture. Both the franchise and the player make the most with what they're given. Ant-Man, perhaps the flashiest player in the league, known for his highlight dunks and desire to become the next face of the league. With splashy trades and a big spender attitude, the franchise's strategy and Anthony Edwards go hand in hand. Both teams have nailed the formula for them, and both are now showing that small markets don't have to dream small, they just have to be smarter. 2 completely different methods, 1 common thread: vision, and a front office brave enough to stick with it. If you're a small market team, visibility doesn't come easy. But these teams prove that if you build something great, the spotlight can't ignore you forever. The Pacers and Wolves should change how we talk about team building. These aren't surprise stories or Cinderella runs. They're cautionary tales for big market teams that think that money guarantees relevance, and for fans who equate visibility with value. And maybe most of all, they're proof that if the NBA is going to thrive in the next decade, as we all hope it does, the league and media need to stop pretending that greatness only lives on the coasts. Because the Wolves and Pacers aren't crashing the party. They've just been building the house while no one else was watching. The future of the NBA might not belong to the flashiest teams. It might belong to the smartest. And these aren't the only ones. Around the league, other small markets are picking their own paths. The OKC Thunder are the textbook example of successful small market team building. After an unsuccessful playoff run, they flipped Paul George to the Clippers for future MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a treasure trove of first-round picks, one of whom became now All-Star Jalen Williams. Chet Holmgren anchors the league's top defense. This year, they had the league's top record and hold a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals. And they still are loaded with draft capital for years to come. The Orlando Magic have utilized a draft-based rebuild with internal development, resulting in stars like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Their defense is strong, but their lack of offense has them looking to retool in the offseason with a score-first guard. The Memphis Grizzlies have a superstar in Ja Morant, an all-star contender in Desmond Bane, and a Defensive Player of the Year in Jaren Jackson Jr. When their core is healthy, they always have a strong regular season and playoffs appearance, but falling short in the playoffs year after year after year has led to questions this offseason about their ceiling. The New Orleans Pelicans at one point had perhaps the most promising future in the league, with Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and now DeJounte Murray and CJ McCollum. However, injuries and trades derailed this team, and after a 14th place finish in the West, their future looks bleak. There's no formula that works everywhere, but there's one thing that never works: standing still. So next time someone you know calls a team like the Pacers or the Wolves a surprise, ask them if they just weren't paying attention. Because the Wolves and Pacers aren't anomalies, they're case studies. If you build smart, believe in your core, and don't panic, even a small market can rewrite the script. Which rebuild would you bet on long term? The Wolves leap or the Pacers climb? Let me know in the comments below. And if you love stories that the national media sleeps on, hit that subscribe. Thank you.